Are you good?
Morning.
It is recorded.
Morning, Dali.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning all and welcome to our July Community Board meeting and our last meeting with our area manager, Alan, who's going to try and quietly sneak out the door later this week. Before we get on to the public forum, do we have any apologies? Everyone is here. So as we start our public forum, I just want to remind you all again that this meeting is being recorded, also that you have 5 minutes to speak. And I would like to call on our first speakers from Creative Coromandel, Jan Wright and Sharon Morecambe. Do you want to pop down this end? There should be a couple of seats there. Thank you. Welcome.
You can look down the camera.
Oh, so you're in here.
Sorry, thank you very much. Thanks for this opportunity, guys. Now, Sharon is not with Creative Coromandel. I'm with Creative Coromandel, but we're going to let Sharon do this fast talking this morning, and I'll just add a recap.
All right. So I'm with the Offbeat Theatre Group, and Creative Coromandel is obviously a supporter of all the arts, which we are part of. And for the last 5-6 years, we've been able to use the facility for our theatre at the Cobble Street Centre, which has got a Cobble Theatre and the Monkey Heart Theatre. And this property, which has been so generously provided to us by the Hewlett family, is now going to tender. So there's no guarantee that that building will remain in its current use or configuration, which it currently has 2 theatres. Also, it houses the Radiology Centre and the Toy Library. So we've got a significant risk that within 2 months' time we won't have a performance space in Tianga. We all know that there's a town hall, but the town hall is so oversubscribed with current users that it's always become an enormous problem for us to try and stage a play or a production in there, because we need rehearsal time as well as performance time, which generally means 3 weeks. And with the current usage of that facility, that is not a good look when we've got to kick out a whole bunch of other people to do our play. So it doesn't work. So what we are trying to propose is a long way into my notes. The idea of a public and private partnership. The council and ourselves, this has been modelled before in Whangamata many years ago. They managed to upgrade their existing town hall into a much more usable facility. So it had many spaces that could be used for various different things. Tiered seating and backstage areas, as well as rooms that could be used for meetings, for drama classes, dance classes. This facility we're talking about, we're going to see our wonderful dance group On Point Studio using as a performance area. We understand that there is nothing available at the moment that the council has in possession that we can use. So what we're suggesting is if we can get agreement from council, we are going to apply to the lotteries for a funding for a feasibility study to look into what is available in our town, what public facilities are available, what private appetite there is to have the art continue in our town, etc. And that is what we are proposing today, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, so the lottery community facilities is the vehicle that we would use for funding. The feasibility would be completely paid for by lottery. From the community and from the council would be an agreement to look into this in partnership. Whatever the feasibility study comes up with will be after consultation from the whole community, from the consultation with council. Then there would be an application written to lottery community facilities, which involves a 1/3, 2/3 partnership. So lottery community would come up with 2/3, the community in combination with other funders and with council and with public fundraising would need to come up with 1/3. They like new builds. They will look at renovation, definitely, and they will look at buying existing if that's proven to be the the best way to go, but they prefer purpose-built facilities. Now, we're conscious of the fact that there is a major project coming up. 1 minute, thank you. You know, at some point in the next 10 years or 15 years, regardless of when that is, we need to start planning now for what the community needs, because these things take a long, long time. Starting place, we think feasibility study. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And a good starting place.
Thank you.
Were there any questions? No?
No.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And next, I would like to invite John Rees from Opito Bay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for your time. I would like to speak about the Jack Mills Reserve. And is it appropriate for me to read from notes?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Oh, thank you. The Jack Mills and the Skippers Road Reserve were created when Skipper Chaplin subdivided the beachfront block. I believe the reserves were given to the public of Opito Bay. You have withdrawn the sale of the Skippers Road Reserve, and we want you, the council, to do the same for the Jack Mills Reserve. There are many families in the fourth generation and
talk about often, you know, rather than just say, oh, this is the way it's going to go. And a good example was how we worked together on getting paid parking at the Grange Road car park. You know, there was a problem there was chaotic parking, and we sold it to to our people that we're going to solve the chaotic parking, and there was going to be benefits by the income was going to come to the community. So everybody felt there was a win for everyone. In this case, there's been no discussion with anybody in the community. As we said, we just lost the freedom to park at one of the most beautiful beaches in the country. It's a kind of lose-lose for everyone, you know. We lose the freedom to park and there's no benefits. That's the most important thing, there's no benefits.
Second point, this is not a tourist car park. Locals love this car park. It's used from everybody from dog walkers to families to surfers. And many are lower income families, so charging to park will have a material impact on them. Most tourists follow their GPS, go to the beach, dig a hole, use the showers and toilets at Hot Water Beach itself. So tourist income is going to be small.
I'd like to add that there's been no revenue forecast in the paper presented to you today. And all we see is potential costs. Normally, the first thing you do when you're making an investment decision, you start off with, okay, what's the revenue going to do? I mean, in this case, I reckon maybe you get $100,000 in parking fees, but you know, it's not going to move the needle on reducing rates. There's not going to be any benefit to everybody. You know, TCDC rates are $100 million a year, and so $100,000 in savings is not going to make any difference whatsoever. So, you know, so why bother? Let's focus on strategies which actually reduce our rates in some way.
We believe it's every Kiwi's right to have free access to every beach in New Zealand. By charging for car parking at all car parks in Hot Water Beach, you're denying us that right. If you go ahead, we're sure many in our community will object very strongly, and you'll probably hear from more of them today. Finally, we strongly recommend that the board rejects this car parking proposal, paid parking proposal at the Domain car park. However, if you do decide you'd like to proceed, we'll be prepared to work with you to facilitate a proper community consultation. As our elected members, I'm sure you'll make the right decision today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Leave that to you.
Yes, I have that, and we've shared that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next, I'd like to invite John Moore from the Mercury Bike Park.
Morning all.
Morning,
John. What's the better the rain?
Yeah.
It's mainly a question. In the paper, it says the community boards have all decided not to identify priorities for funding this year and leave it to the community to decide what's important to them. How's that process going to work?
So sorry, how's the process going to work? This is something that we've done before. We are asked as a board, just to clarify for you, we're asked as a board, is there a certain area or something that we'd like to focus on? And what we have chosen to do as a board is to allow anybody that would like to apply for a grant to have that opportunity to do so. So we're not sort of narrowing down what we're looking for or what we're wanting to support. We are making sure that it is open to the entire community.
Okay, so how, if you go back over the last 3 years, the board has allocated $26,000. How is that allocated?
The grants process is just open now,
Yes.
so we haven't seen
That's right.
any grants come in yet.
What's the system for
Right.
grant?
Maybe we need to just have an offline conversation, and Heather, can you pick up with John and we explain the grants process? It hasn't changed. It may just be that the wording might be a little bit misleading, but the processes will still be the same. It opened on the 1st of July.
Taking it from this in the paper that the system has changed.
No, it hasn't changed.
That proves, doesn't it?
Okay, so but we will pick up with you, Heather and I, and we'll just make sure we sit down at another time and just explain that process. Happy with that?
Yep.
Thanks, John. Next, I would like to invite Andreas Egman around the Hot Water Beach paid parking. Hello, welcome.
Thanks. I've got a letter and a petition here. This petition's got 1,300 signatures on it. It's, as of this morning, it's just shy of 1,500 people in opposition to the proposal for paid car parking at the Main Road car park. Yeah, I'm going to touch on quite a lot of the same points as Penny and Bill. basically, this petition was set up by me 3.5 days ago, and it's already reached that number of signatures, and it's still open, it's still going. The same points that Penny and Bill raised, you're going to stop free access to the beach. There'll be nowhere for anyone to get to the beach and be able to access it without having to pay, which is a real shame. It'll be a first in New Zealand, we're pretty sure. And not only would it have regional consequences, I imagine it would be quite a national consequence as well. And Penny mentioned the users to this beach are predominantly, other than the tourists that this kind of proposal would be trying to capture. People go surfing, they go fishing, they walk, they take their kids to the beach. It's directed at the wrong people and going to affect the wrong people, mostly, I feel. The public consultation, non-existent. You know, I've got this much engagement from a middle-aged father to basically things to do with his time from this. So I'd expect more from the council on a topic this important. And finally, the role of the community board, and I wrote this down because I thought it was quite important, is to represent and act as an advocate for the interests of its community. And I don't think you're doing that in this situation. The community wants free access to a beach, much more so than contributing $20,000 a year to a slush fund to the council. There's no real benefit of what that's going to be. A greater benefit would be free access to the beach. So myself and these people would all request that you just deny this proposal. Keep the beach free, let us keep going. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Does anyone have any questions? No? All right. Will you leave a copy of that for us? Thank you so much. And next, I would like to invite Peter Smith. Hi, Peter.
Good morning.
You're here to talk about Hotwater Beach parking?
Yes, I don't think there's much more I can add to that. I've been a ratepayer in Corrigling for 28 years. And over the last few years, gradually our free parking in Hotwater Beach has dwindled. I'm sure when this, the first pay and display was proposed at Hotwater Beach, the bull paddock car park was guaranteed to remain free. That's since become pay and display. The free parking opposite on the other side of the road from the main South End car park, that has become pay and display. And so all that left us really was at the main car park. And as a frequent user of the beach, it's just unacceptable that I should have to pay year in, year out for the rest of my life to access Hotwater Beach. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any questions? Just no questions there. Thanks, Peter. And then I'd like to invite Tim Stevens, who's here to talk about Hotwater Beach parking.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thanks. I don't need to say too much. Everyone else has done a good job of saying about it, so I'm just going to support that there isn't any paid parking at Hotwater Beach. And as I just said, the first car park that got done, we kind of obviously, that was, I don't know, upsetting to hear that first car park side thing got done, so we thought that's fine. Paid parking was stayed out now, but then to go to that middle car park, it's a bit disappointing to hear that. So yeah, just not objecting against it. But on a positive note, thank you very much for the skate park and the basketball and the as well. That's a good lot.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Right. And next, I would thank you. I would like to invite Alison Henry. Good morning, Alison.
Good morning, everybody. Morena, and thank you very much, Rika, for agreeing. We just have a few minutes. I had thought that the reserve management plans would be on the agenda this time, and they weren't. But I asked if I could still come and speak anyway, because I know that this is Alan's last community board meeting. And I wanted to take that opportunity to say thank you to Alan for all you have achieved and all you have supported in our community.
Thank you.
I know I speak for just hundreds and hundreds of others when I say how much I've always appreciated your advice and your guidance on things that we've brought to you from time to time over your time as area manager. So I'd like you to take this because that says you're going to have a tree planted for you. It's a very small, it'll be a beautiful flowering tree, and it's a very small token for a very long and valuable contribution. So I just wanted to put that on the table publicly and say thank you very much.
Slowly embarrassing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, and is there anyone I've missed for public forum other than yourself, Cheryl? Is there anyone else here that's wanting to speak? No? All right. I'd like to welcome you both to come and speak about the Right to Be Safe campaign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Morena all. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak with you this morning and to introduce the Mercury Bay Right to Be Safe campaign, which is protecting children from sexual abuse. It's a primary prevention project. I'm Kathy Archibald and I'm employed by CAPS Aoraki as project lead for the project. And my co-lead,
I'm Cheryl Fitzpatrick and I'm in manager of the Whitianga Community Services Trust.
And so I did send some information through to Donna.
Yes, we've all got that, thank you, and read that, yes.
So I won't go through that again, but just to, and possibly the people here listening might be interested in this. I came up and facilitated a workshop that Cheryl organised at the end of last year with her staff and some other social services staff on how to protect children from sexual abuse. And I need to say that the stats in New Zealand are that 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys will have experienced some form of sexual abuse by the age of 16. And it can have a profound, long-lasting effect. So it's something that we need to be really aware of and do something about. So I facilitated the workshop, and I have to say that I was so impressed by the enthusiasm and the desire to do something in this community by the people that were present. So from there, there's been lots of networking with the community and key people about whether this is something that the community would like to do. And at the end of the year, we had a community meeting where a mandate was given to have the campaign. So the campaign will be launched probably in the next couple of months. And the key aspects of it is a community awareness raising, where we will use a whole range of social media, newspaper, radio, getting the information out about why we're doing it, and the things that simple, helpful, hopeful messages that parents can do, caregivers, to make a difference. And I've walked through some examples of posters here. So these will be widely circulated as well. Are you partying, staying away from home, new parents, blended family, information for children. For instance, teach your children the proper names for their body, use proper names for genitals from as young as possible. Have no secrets rule in your house, only surprises. And also looking at organisations such as clubs and schools in terms of these policies and procedures. Is the environment safe for children? And looking at what the procedure is if there is a disclosure, and always promoting where to go for help. And you'll see at the bottom of this poster, where to go for help. So we're also going to, which is very exciting, we're also going to have some champions, key people in the community from a range of different groups who will be saying, I believe that you need to do something about protecting our children who are precious. And these are key things that you can do. And we will have billboards and again posters and flyers around that will be promoting those key messages. Yes.
Thank you.
Have I missed anything here, Cheryl?
I think you've done pretty well, really.
So you might be thinking, why have we come to you? We're not coming asking for money. We're as you are key leaders in this community, we want to give you the information so that you know about why you'll be seeing these messages, what it means. And I believe that we can all play a role. So it may be that you have grandchildren and there's some of these messages that you can promote with your grandchildren. It's fridge magnets. I don't have to keep a secret that makes me feel scared. And this is beautiful. It's a little elephant saying, my feelings matter. So I wonder if you have any questions that you might like to ask.
Any questions? No, I think it's a great initiative, and
If any of you are interested in becoming a champion, please feel free to come forward. There will be training. And there's something else I was going to mention that's gone right out of my head. What was it?
Shall I talk a little bit more? How are we doing for time?
we are doing okay.
Okay. How many minutes do we have?
I'm using that clock over there because that one I don't trust sometimes. Probably got about 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, good. Because I meant to take my watch off so I can have a look, but I didn't do that. We are going to be evaluating this project so that we can look at what difference it has made and anything that could be improved on. The campaign, you're probably familiar with the It's Not Okay campaigns that have been done nationally and throughout Thames-Coromandel Hauraki area, and they have proved to be very effective. So, and there was also it's Right to Be Safe project that was run 8 years ago actually, and you may have recalled seeing some posters. John Wright was one of the champions, and Chrissy Beard, who was a public health nurse in the community. So they proved to be really effective because they are people that are up there promoting the cause, and people know that if they have a worry or a concern, they can go and speak to those people. Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say, and it's reminded me. It's really important for this area because we've got the biggest area school in New Zealand. So we've got something like 1,200 students there, and almost a fifth of the population.
Okay. So, maybe we can chat later, and I could link you in with some of the what are they called? Presidents of the different sports clubs and things that the kids are involved in. Yeah, we can pick that conversation up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
because that's been another idea that's been mooted, actually making contact with like the rugby club, emergency services, and it may be that they want to promote it, and so we'd have a billboard or a poster saying this organisation supports it. And some people might say, is there a problem in this area? Is this why we're doing it? And it's absolutely not. It's that this community is a wonderful community that has the courage and wants to make a difference to protect their children.
And we're very aware that it may raise issues for some people. So the Trust is actively putting in place services that can be there to respond.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's awareness raising so that we're wanting to ensure the sexual safety of children. So making sure the sexual abuse is not something that happens, but also being aware that for some children and some adults that has happened, and ensuring that there's the services there to provide the support that they need. So thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming in. Just before they go, any questions, everyone? Okay, thanks again. Thanks so much.
And would you like us to leave I've got more posters there, I can leave them there and help yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks. So have we captured everybody that has wanted to speak at public forum? All right, fantastic. Thank you all. Can I please have a mover and a second for public forum, please? Thanks, Bill. Second
So
by
can I just interrupt, sorry, can we add to that resolution that also we received the petition that was presented?
Oh, right, sorry, yes.
The public forum and the petition be received?
You've got that? Okay, did he leave the copy?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. So moved by Bill, seconded by Jeremy. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Okay, so do we have any conflicts of interest to declare? None. Any items not on the agenda? Right, so that takes us to items 1.6, which is our minutes for confirmation on page 3. Mover and seconder.
And move.
Thank you, Tony. Seconded by Jeremy. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. That's great. We now move to item 2.1, which is moved by Murray.
I'll second.
Seconded by Daly. All those in favour?
No.
Page 17, it's the Opedo
Rolling it over.
grant.
No, I just want to talk to that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Mainly that we've got precedent because in Thames, you recall we had a community grant that was not used and got media attention where it's been repaid. So that has happened as of now, and we're like, here you have these grants and they should be spent in the year in which they are issued.
Mm.
And as a general principle, we don't roll them over. So if you've had the money and you haven't spent it, then it's not an automatic thing to roll over. And there's precedent in this financial year for one year to have done just that. So I'm mindful, and it's probably more for staff input, is given that it's my understanding of how it works, are we creating a precedent for ourselves to roll this one over?
May I speak to that?
Yes, you may.
We have in the past rolled them over. There is in the criteria for the grants, there is the ability for the community board to decide to either decline that or approve the rollover. So that decision does come back down to the board and it's allowed to run the criteria.
It is allowed. Delly?
And I think to be fair, as long as the purpose for which that grant was given doesn't change, as long as it doesn't alter and it's spent on something different.
Yeah.
So these guys have had a bit of a delay in getting their dark sky signage and things. Maybe I don't see a problem.
I don't disagree with any of that. It was me to put to their mind to apply to us for a grant to do just this, to get dark skies off the road, off the ground, given how long it's taken them to get that far. It's just that having provided that support, all I'm saying is that one could expect in 12 months you'd have your signage organised and done. So, I'd be suggesting that is that imminent, because otherwise we'll sit here next year.
It does say it's in the finalisation stages.
Yeah. I'm supportive of what they're wanting to do. I'm just mindful that these things aren't an automatic rollover.
And here this is.
You could,
I agree.
Well, it's just over here. It's in the criteria there. I mean, the board could, and I think they have done in the past, just from memory, don't quote me, they could put a time limit on it that, you know, that they retain the funds, but they have to be spent by a particular point of time, which I don't know whether there's any advantage or disadvantage to that.
Is there any appetite to say that it has to be done by the end of the year?
Well, I'm more inclined to think it's the next year. I would say.
Yeah, it couldn't go over for another year.
No, if they came back again, then we'd have to sit down. But if they're in the process of finalising the signs, I imagine, and when you have different sort of organisations and things involved, I know signage can be a.
Yeah, I'm supportive of it. I'm mindful of the fact that this is not an automatic process.
I think, the point's pretty good. I think we don't want multiple grants coming back, always asking for extension, so
Yeah.
Opportunity.
Yeah,
Well, probably,
exactly.
I was thinking that not a bad solution at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Timeline on it.
Yeah,
End of the calendar year. or-
I would say 31st of November.
Well, there is automatically, because if they don't use it this year, they've only approved it for 1 year, so they've got to come back for approval.
Yeah.
We just refuse it next year, done, but
As it stands at the moment, if you approve it, that would approve it through to the 30th of June next year.
In the next
Yeah.
council.
then if they don't use it,
Financial year.
it's got to come back again and we can refuse it.
And then we'll pay it back.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so all those in favour of the resolution as it sits? Aye. Opposed? None carried. We've got to move it and a seconder? Yes, okay. Fantastic.
Murray and Delhi.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So that takes us to item 2.2, which is the Grange Road car park. Control and management handover. That's on page 19. Mover and second for the report, please.
I'll move.
Moved by Tony, seconded by Bill.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favour?
By just a comment, there's two, we can hand it over as is with our assets there, or remove them. I think Nari Hay taking it over, I'd like to see it handed over with the assets as is. I think we've expended that capital, that expenditure. It's handed over as is as a gesture of goodwill to Nari Hay, and they can get on and they'll create some revenue out of it. I think it'll be, they can win on that, so I think it's good.
Jeremy?
It's good that Murray cleared that part of it up. I just wondered about the ongoing management of it. Obviously, the proposal was by the Nari Hay regarding the bus timelines, how that would work. Essentially, we operate as it does today. Is that yes? Yes. Have any control over it?
No, no, we won't have control over how Dr. Marty Hay manage the car park.
Yeah.
But won't have any impact on the shuttle bus service. We got a contract in place which relates to the visitor car park and the bus operator. There's already arrangements in place between the bus operator and Doc to be able to drop passengers off up there. There's no intention for that to change. We have discussed that with Doc.
Yep.
And there's no intention for that to change.
Okay. A bit of status quo and it's not over the. It's same service level.
It was a very important part of our discussions with them.
And I guess essentially the simple point is that they won't be renewing the 5-year control and management. So at that point, it's really a decision, more like Murray's talking about, do we hand it over as is, or do we, have someone check changeover or whatever, which is why we've put the resolution is that the chief executive has the ability to negotiate that handover process.
What I'd like to see this board recommend, put in there that we'd like to see the assets just go with it. So it's for Nari Hay, it's as seamless as possible, but I don't know if we can do that. Helen's looking at me.
So do you mean at no cost? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
No cost, yes, sir.
We've spent some money, we've had money in, we've more than covered it. Well, this is the way I see it. We've more than covered our costs. We have an extreme amount of goodwill with Nari Hay, and I think just to help that goodwill, I think we've more than covered our costs with our revenues. Let's just let it go.
What I'm hesitating is, the assets are on our books, so they have a value on the council books. So we would need to find a way of dealing with that issue. So there will be a cost to council in terms of dealing with that asset value. So I need to check with their finance people on the details.
So that cost could be offset against the revenue or not?
Potentially, yes. Yeah.
Through the chair would
Anyway,
be
you can
coming
sort it
through point 5 with delegates, the chief executive to find a way to make that happen.
I think the comments and notions are good. I prefer to leave the resolution as it is.
Okay.
Good. But we know the board's the board's perspective on it, and we'll pass that on accordingly. Yeah.
All right. So all those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed? None carried. Takes us to our next item, which is 2.3, parking control bylaw. This is on page 24. Have I missed one? No?
No, 24.
24, right. Okay, sorry. Okay, can we move and second to receive the report?
I'll move it.
Delhi? Bill, thank you. Right,
So may I speak?
yes.
Yeah, all right. So obviously we've heard from Hobart Beach, Hahe, Corrigan, wider Mercury Bay South community this morning with we've had the online and the petition's been online and we've been provided with that copy. So I also wanted to raise that since the report was written, it's been drawn to my attention as well that the Reserves Act legislation so should the board decide to go ahead, we may have to, under Section 8 of the Act, we may have to get the minister's approval to implement charging anyway. So that may be another step that we have to go through in the process. So it actually just says with prior consent of the minister for bars, campgrounds, parking places, vehicles, or mooring places for boats, necessary for the convenience of people, etc., and fix reasonable charge for the use of bars, camping grounds, and parking or mooring places. So should we go ahead, that step may still need to be taken. I just wanted to draw your attention as well to the comments on the comprehensive report in the last paragraphs.
On page 7?
On page 26. Which is the rationale behind why charging was being introduced as well, was for that tourist impact.
Yeah.
In saying that, the community have expressed their desires. They've also expressed that in the Mercury Bay South Community Plan, which is, I didn't note it in this, but I noted it in the next report, which is the exemptions report, that they didn't support charging at the Dominion for locals. So I think we've had that message quite clearly. But it's really now down to the board to decide which way they would like to go with that.
Sorry, Jeremy had his hand up. Oh,
okay.
Thank you.
I had a rather passionate phone call from a person absolutely against any parking fees for residents or ratepayers. So my question is, what's the feeling about differentiation between a ratepayer and a visitor?
And what's your recommendation? What's your feeling?
My feeling is that historically beaches have been open for use without charge, but also in my experience overseas, if you want to go anywhere, you pay. So my feeling is that I think that if it were possible to give ratepayer exemption, but target non-ratepayers, if that were possible.
So I think the conversation that needs to be having with this item is around charging in this car park.
Yes.
The next item
is
talks about how that should be executed.
Okay.
So let's perhaps not confuse the two and just park that question for the next item.
I don't think you can answer them
without
having real cognizance of the other.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of you we've obviously heard from the Mercury Bay South people, and I think there's a general theme right through the district. I can't support paid parking in that beach. I think the points is that car park is positioned in the middle of the beach, for one. So you cut off 80% of access to that beach. It's that last bar, a couple of car parks up the hill. It's the last free parking that's available. Like as Roddy pointed out, we've now done across the road, we've done in Mill Park. It doesn't feel right that we are targeting the people that pay the rates. I mean, I can validate it's a highly used car park, not just by surfers, by young families, dogs. It's the only part of the beach.
So what is it?
Again, it's the only part of the beach that you can actually take a dog on.
You?
So, yeah, I just can't support the minimum pay parking here.
Thank you. Yes, I agree.
Just a question. The main Hot Water Beach car park, we provide some car parks there for the surf life saving and others. We've got reserved car parks, haven't we? 3.
No, it's more than that. It's the far end of the car park down there at the building.
Yeah.
Club building.
I'm just wondering whether, and I'm just talking out loud here, I wonder whether there's a compromise here, because the surf lighting club is down off this car park.
No.
Well, they can park at this car park.
No. Well, they'd have to walk all the way along the beach to get to the thing.
Past the hot pools all the way down through the little creek.
It's quite
Yeah,
a
it's long distance,
It is.
yeah. I'm trying to think of a way.
Okay, Delhi, thinking.
I think it's a dangerous precedent to have a beach that is totally paid access, and it goes against migraine that there is no free public access to that beach. And I would also argue that the exemptions for Mercury Bay South are ridiculous, because personally, myself and my family have spent a lot of time where Whitianga based. We're currently Matarangi based and will continue to go to Hotwater Beach. So I think we should dismiss this out of hand.
Tony.
So I picked up on the consultation. I think this thing's been discussed widely over time, and the reason to seal those car parks was based on being able to pay to do that. So whilst I hear the thing, I don't necessarily disagree with it. Would we have actually spent the money to go and seal that place if people weren't going to pay and use it? It would have been cheaper for us as a community to leave it as gravel and move on with our lives. So yeah, I just add that to the mix.
I'd like to re-raise for the 15th time a capture point for visitors coming in. And if they are foreigners, and I don't mean that in any derogatory sense, they clip the ticket. But if you're a ratepayer, you don't.
So is another way forward to look and not charge for this car park, but following on, think we don't grant any exemptions whatsoever?
It's a big leap.
Yeah. Well, particularly
current exemptions.
So the current exemptions for the Hotwater Beach folks
don't apply anymore.
Apply, and they would have to
we
use
just don't charge for this one. This is a locals car park, we've been told. So if that's going to be the thing, they don't get any. We take out all exemptions, because I'm against exemptions. I think why, if you happen to be there, we're all in the same area, and I'm totally against exemptions. So I wonder if it's a way forward.
Can you comment on that as an option?
Well, there certainly is an option there. It would need a community board resolution. Currently, the area is just from getting the Link Road, isn't it?
From Boat Harbour.
Back towards back towards Hotwood Beach. So it's a really confined area that's exempt already. But certainly the board is at liberty to change that current practice.
Okay.
As part of this resolution.
Part of the leave. Is it on the next report?
Ellie.
Feels punitive to me. It actually feels like, like if you want that, we're going to take that away.
I just sit well with me. I think that's a historic deal that's been done.
And the exemption area for those that are currently exempt to park at that main car park, as you said, is quite small. It's like the immediate Hotwater Beach neighbourhood.
The map is shown in the next report.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So am I getting the feeling around this table that there is not the desire to charge for parking at the Domain Road car park?
Correct. Can't believe you got that.
There's very small nodding. Can we see some big nodding? Is that the feeling that I'm getting? Okay. And also not the desire to change the current exemption scheme that's in place?
No, that's working.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to suggest a new resolution. Do we need to suggest a new resolution which says?
At this point in time, you've received the report. And you could just leave it at that, of course.
Okay, so
that would mean nothing happens.
It's voted down on it.
Or they can be more specific.
Yeah, yes, you could pass a resolution.
You can pass a resolution saying
not
do not implement.
Which would probably be a lot of people.
Yeah, so we just receive the report and just leave it on, just leave it.
Well, I think
No, probably, you see this is use, I think, probably to make it very clear, a resolution saying that the community thought, that implementate, that parking and charging not be implemented for the main road park.
At this time.
Okay, so is everybody, you've got that right, those community board agreed that paid parking not be implemented?
No, I'm not happy with that. I'll vote against that.
Okay.
I'd rather just receive the report and leave it.
Some future time, I say, we've sat around this table, and I've people on the weekend, everyone says we don't want the rates to go up, and I'm saying, well, what do you want to stop? And someone said to me, well, what would you take out? That's all. I'll show you to take $150 off your rates bill tomorrow morning with two things. So the issue of how do we fund what we do is not going away. So for me, I'd leave this thing as open as I could. I'd receive the report, nothing will happen. But then you write into this thing that you won't charge.
You'll get it.
The day in 20 years' time, someone says, well, this is a way of getting money, and we need to. You'll be reminded about the day you said that there won't worry me. So I just.
But this is the locals telling us that this is the space that they.
You're receiving the report. We're not doing anything, so they'll get charged.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, I take the point. I guess why not? I mean, if we're going to implement some sort of parking, we've always talked about a grander scheme, right? We shouldn't try and be isolated. We're talking about specifically about Dominion car park.
Dominion Road.
So,
Domain Road.
Thank you for reading me out there.
That's just a song in a minute.
So what I support is not us saying we're never going to charge parking alone in that as a standalone domain or a car park, but maybe we're implementing as a district some sort of fees that possibly come in as a national body.
Yeah. Okay, Delhi, after Jeremy.
There will never be another access to that beach that is free to the populace unless we purchase somebody's property and create access. So I don't like the idea of adding at this time. And it leaves open Bill's suggestion about, we've discussed a camera capturing your number plate or whatever as you drive through Dalmatian Corner. I think that's another discussion that's got nothing to, it doesn't directly impact a main car park, but I am really uncomfortable with having the first beach in New Zealand that has no free access.
And the entire LTP looking at parking, charging for tourists, that piece of work is yet to come. Yeah, for me, this feels like the easy low-hanging fruit. And we need to do a bigger, broader look at taxing the tourists. We can say that, and not looking at repeatedly hitting on our ratepayers. So for me, I feel that the resolution, no paid parking at the Domain Road car park, is the right one. But we will put that down and put it to a vote.
Hang on. Getting back to what was said, was receive the report.
Yes, but I'm suggesting that we actually put a resolution in, and we vote on it. I think that we need to tidy this up because, in terms of it being the New Zealand's, one of our pristine beaches, and you have to pay. There's no free access point. That doesn't sit right.
Mm-hmm. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'm just wondering about the words.
Yeah, well, that's what we can look at now. What have we got, Donna?
The Mercury Bay Community Board. No, they I just no.
Dominion Road car.
Dominion, yeah. Now got free parking. No paid parking for the Dominion Road main road car park. We would have put Hotwater Beach.
I'm proud of that.
No,
it's mutton bird.
Mutton birds, mate.
What would it be?
It's a mare's nest.
Before my time,
it's well.
Mercury Bay Community
Board
Board receives the report dated 8th of June, agreed to no paid parking for the Dominion Road car park. Why don't you skip it? At Water Beach. How does that feel?
Read it again.
I'm not going to read it because I keep
So the
saying.
Mercury Bay Community Board, 1, receives the paid parking control bylaw Schedule A amendments report dated 8th of June 2021, and agreed to no paid parking for the Domain Road car park at Hotwater Beach.
Yes, I can accept that.
Okay, so all those in favour of that new suggested,
Tom, it can be reviewed.
Yes.
new suggested resolution? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Right, so how does that leave us for item 2.4?
Is it?
We get to morning tea a little bit earlier?
That wouldn't negate, that would
Yes.
negate,
Yeah.
unless you wanted to make any changes, I would assume that we're going to negate that report and just retain it.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
So does it,
We don't need to.
so it doesn't do a resolution,
We don't even need to.
we retain option 1, which is retain the current exemption area for Hotwater Beach residents and ratepayers.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I did have that as an option. So in my cover report, I recommended option 2.
But we need to change
That
that.
was if you were charging. So I would suggest, Madam Chair, that we recommend to Council to adopt option 1 to retain the current exemption area for Hotwater Beach residents and ratepayers.
Okay.
There'll be some happy people with this.
The board wished to.
That makes it the neatest and tidiest. Yeah, okay. So I need a mover and a seconder for this report, please. Jeremy, Murray / Daly. And then an amendment to that resolution is changing option 2 to option 1. All those in favour? Opposed? None carried. Cup of tea before we do the homeowners wall? All right. Lorna, you just walked out with your phone not long ago. Sorry, thank you for this. Put it back in there.
I'm happy with that.
Brilliant. I've got a tree. Oh, you can still
What a relevant week to school to take got a certificate.
No, it's. You do it very well. You do it very well. Right. Cup of tea? I'm going to go make a cup of tea. Goodness me.